My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning and happy Wednesday. I am Joe Carlisle and this is Joe Knows South Lake. We're so happy to have you today. It's September 18th. Hey, look, I want to tell you, please, if you're with us, like, love, share, do us a favor, do yourself a favor, spread the word, get the news out. On the show today, we're very excited. We're going to talk today about beer service. That's right, beer service. The kind of service you get when you get beer or when you don't get beer. We're going to talk about the Minnesota beatings. I don't know if you've heard about this. This is going on. We're going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to have a Cup of Joe today. And today's Cup of Joe is about you pick your attitude. And finally, I'm so excited to finally get my dear friend Stephanie Harris on this show. She's the executive director of New Beginnings of Central Florida, an organization which really captured my heart when I first came here to this area. And so I'm really looking forward to talking to her and hearing more about New Beginnings and where it goes and what it does. So you should stay tuned. We are going to hear from our sponsors. They hold a special place in my heart. My heart is on my left side. Actually, your heart's, I think, like right here, in all honesty. But hey, on the left side. And we're going to hear from the sponsors. I really appreciate them. So don't go away. Stick around. We'll see you in just a minute.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Our team has over 30 years of experience helping first-time homebuyers, veterans, move-up buyers, seasoned investors, and more. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
Welcome to Erikas Tea Room. Located in the heart of downtown Claremont, this specialty tea shop offers a traditional high tea experience that can be enjoyed with family and friends. While here, you can choose from over 100 teas from all over the world, and a multitude of teapots are available for purchase. Join us for lunch or choose from one of our special evening events. Call to make a reservation. Erikas Tea Room, making memories with every cup.
Saturday night, October 5th, Claremont, Florida, get ready as Local Pro Wrestling presents Fight Fest, featuring 6 hard-hitting matches, including the Technical Alchemist, David Mercury, against Aaron Epic. In the semi-main event, a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal, and former TNA superstar Mr. 630 Jarrell Clark. And the main event for the evening, former WWF WCW superstar, the Cuban Assassin, takes on the marquee Bruce Santee. Adult tickets are $15 and children ages 5 to 12 are only $10. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite. For more details, follow us on Facebook at Local Pro Wrestling or visit localprowrestling.com. Come support Local Pro Wrestling live.
Welcome back. Thank you. Once again for tuning in. I want to thank my sponsors. Actually, I want to say a special word out for Les Ellier at Local Pro Wrestling. Look, that show is going to fill up. You need to call and get your tickets. Get them quick. Don't be caught out in the open because you waited to the last minute. It'll be a real fun time for you and the kids if you're into wrestling. If you're not into wrestling, it'll just be a good, interesting way. It's very, very affordable as far as wrestling tickets go. I've known people that have paid upwards of $100 to go see a wrestling match that wasn't even the full-on big stars, WWE, and all that. So get out there, utilize the sponsor services. All right, talking about beer service today. I went to lunch yesterday, and I won't tell you where because I don't like to talk bad about anybody, but I run into this. About 10, 12 years ago, I gave up drinking. And my wife, for the most part, doesn't drink much. She might have a glass of wine with dinner every great now and then. If we go out on a special thing, it's an anniversary or something. But we pretty much don't drink. So our common experience is when we go in, they ask us what we'd like, and we say water, tea, whatever. And I can see the look on the server's face. It's almost a look of, oh, here we go. I'm not going to get much money on this table. I went to lunch yesterday, and now lunch is usually, depending on where you are, it's not as bad as when you go out to dinner. Of course, weekends are worse than weekdays. But I got this attitude yesterday, and the worst part about it was I ordered something simple, and my salad came, and I'm eating my salad, and I could see the service window from where I was sitting. And the rest of my lunch was sitting up in that window, and I used to wait on tables, so I try to be very understanding. But this woman walked by my lunch, must have been a half a dozen times, never even came to my table to see if I was doing okay, but went to tables who sat after me 3 and 4 times, and it all came down to these other tables were all drinking alcohol. And it's just occurred to me, do you have anything in your life where you do that? Where you make an assumption so you're not giving somebody, while it torqued me, I'm used to it by now. It doesn't really upset me, but it does disappoint me. 1, when I get my lunch, I'd like it to be hot. 2, she really affected her tip. I start as a big tipper. Okay? I don't start as an average tipper and then go up. I start as a stupid super high tipper and take a little bit off. And in the great realm of things, she got a 20% tip from me. But she could have gotten so much more had she simply taken 30 seconds to bring me my lunch. And it all comes down to, because I didn't have alcohol. Do you run into this, Jay, or do you drink quite profusely when you go out to dinner?
Profusely is a strong word. I would socially drink. I don't go out with the intention of only drinking. I'll usually have a beer or something, maybe with a meal or two. Also depends on where I'm at. If there's a place like we got some really great brew houses in town, so that have some really good craft beer. If there's a really good beer on tap, I'll definitely have some. But I can see in some cases how that could affect the level of service depending on the location that you're at. If you went to a beer house and only ordered water, I could see how they might treat you differently. I'm not justifying it, the behavior or the treatment, but I do sometimes go out and drink. I have not experienced this type of treatment that you're speaking about, but it could have been because I may have been profusely drinking and I just didn't even notice it. So I don't know.
You probably see it. You have a child. You have a small child. You probably see it evidenced in another way, where maybe you're somewhere that's somewhat nice, and they see that you have a child, and you're just not getting the same level of consideration, as the guy ordering the $200, worth of appetizers and desserts, and the $40 lamb rack, because you're gonna get your son a macaroni and cheese, or whatever.
Well, first of all, if my son would eat macaroni and cheese, that would just delight me because I can't get him to eat it for some reason. That's like the one thing he knows I really want him to try, and he just don't want to. But secondly, my son is a huge tipper. He leaves a great tip. So his personality is tip, so he leaves a bunch of it.
But my wife actually tells me every time we run into this, she tells me, this is why in the places we're local, we go all the time. So they learn us. Anyways, that's enough about beer service. Have you heard about the? That's me, Jay.
Okay.
Have you heard about the Minnesota beatings?
I have not.
Okay, so there have been over the weekend. There were some beatings. What they're calling, I think they're calling them crowd beatings, and basically these young men are in a crowd picking out somebody who is physically challenged, and they're just beating them and stealing their stuff. And I mean, they have video of these guys. They're like riding bicycles over them. They're not just hitting them and taking their stuff and running. They're like taking 15 minutes to beat them and continue beating. And I'm talking 12 or 15 people at a time. You know, I see stuff like this, and I think this is an effect of the demanification of America. Because there was a time in this country where if you saw something like that going on, you stepped in. You took a chance. I mean, I got to tell you, if 12 kids beat me in a street, I mean, I'm an old guy. If there's 12 of them, they might get away with beating me. I'm going to be looking for them come the next day. And I'm going to have a bat. And somebody else is going to get a beating. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to find 2 or 3 friends to go with me, to keep an eye out. It's just amazed me that the only reaction is, oh, the video's not strong enough, you know, to get the, to identify the kids. They've identified 12 people, but they think 45 of them have taken part in these sort of things. And just in the city of Minnesota. It's almost like this went out on social media, so some kids decided to join in. What do you think's the cause of something like this, Jay?
I have no idea, Joe. I'm too busy to even fathom that.
I think it's parenting. I think it's all parenting. Parenting, and people today know that, you know, cops are almost afraid to do anything for minor crimes, and so major crimes get away with. Anyways, nobody's excited about this, so I'll move on. Cup of Joe today. I was actually in 2 different settings yesterday. I had the privilege of going and interviewing the South Lake football coach yesterday. Yes, South Lake football. I'm sorry. I did that yesterday in the interview. I felt so bad. The South Lake football coach, and he said something, and you know, it kind of stuck me, and we're going to show that on Friday during our sports section, so you'll have to tune in to see that. He's an amazing man doing some amazing things. I really want to tell you to tune in. But I actually went to a meeting last night where I got to see the Claremont fire chief talk about the force and the fire department there. And you know, he said something that really kind of stuck with me, and I wanted to just mention it today because he was speaking to a group of veterans, and he was talking about his guys and how they put themselves in danger. And he was quite gracious to say it's nothing like you guys who've been to combat, with bullets whizzing over their head. But he talked about how sometimes he has to give these guys perspective because they might, we all have complaining days. They might complain that the air conditioning isn't cold enough in the trucks, and air conditioning in a fire truck is something fairly new, And this chief has been on the force for over 30 years, in the department. But he talked about how he has to tell his guys that your morale. People talk a lot about morale. And battles are won if morale is good, and that's an ancient concept. But he talked about telling his firemen that you pick your attitude in the morning. That is so true. I have gone through times in my life where I've had to be reminded that my attitude is not actually. I want to believe my attitude is influenced by the conditions around me, but it's not. It's influenced by the choice I make in the morning. If I get up in the morning and say, I'm going to have a good day, nothing can take that away from me. I had a dear friend some 15 years ago, and he actually taught me a great lesson of this. Anytime I complained to him about something, he'd say to me, if that's the worst thing that happened to you today, Joe, you're having a pretty good day. If that's the worst thing to happen to you this week, Joe, that's a pretty good week. And I adopted this, and it has actually helped me to become a pretty positive person. So if you struggle sometimes with your attitude, if you feel like life is against you, you have to make the choice. You have to get up. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, "Gosh darn it, I'm okay. I'm going to be a good guy, and I'm going to influence the world around me today." And in the grand scheme of things, I have fresh running water out of my tap. I have air conditioning. I have food in the fridge. I have a job. I have a place to live. I have people who love me. You got to choose how your day is going to go. So I ask you right now to make that choice. Well, that's the Cup of Joe for today. We are going to go to commercial break again, hear from our sponsors. I'd love to hear from these guys. I love them so much. I appreciate their support. I want you to tune back in because when we come back, we're going to be with Stephanie Harris of New Beginnings of Central Florida, and I'm really excited for this interview. I just want to hear so much from her and about the people and how she's influencing the community. So be right back.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
Welcome to Erikas Tea Room. Located in the heart of downtown Clearmont, this specialty tea shop offers a traditional high tea experience that can be enjoyed with family and friends. While here, you can choose from over 100 teas from all over the world, and a multitude of teapots are available for purchase. Join us for lunch or choose from one of our special evening events. Call to make a reservation. Erikas Tea Room, making memories with every cup.
Saturday night, October 5th, Claremont, Florida, get ready as local pro wrestling presents Fight Fest, featuring 6 hard-hitting matches, including the Technical Alchemist, David Mercury, against Aaron Epic. In the semi-main event, a 20-man over-the-top rope battle royal, and former TNA superstar Mr. 630 Jarrell Clark. And the main event for the evening, former WWF WCW superstar, the Cuban Assassin, takes on the marquee Bruce Santee. Adult tickets are $15 and children ages 5 to 12 are only $10. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite. For more details, follow us on Facebook at Local Pro Wrestling or visit localprowrestling.com. Come support local pro wrestling live.
Hello, I'm Mary Rhodes with the mortgage firm, your local mortgage lender. I've helped thousands of families achieve the dream of homeownership in Lake County, and I would love to help you. Our team has over 30 years of experience helping first-time homebuyers, veterans, move-up buyers, seasoned investors, and more. Please read our reviews and visit us at mortgagefirmpros.com.
Hey, welcome back. Once again, thanks to the sponsors, special place in my heart. I suggest you use their businesses. Well, today we have Stephanie Harris, who is the Executive Director at New Beginnings of Central Florida. Stephanie, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I've known Stephanie's bright smile and the light in her eyes for almost 2 years, long before I actually started working with the Chamber, because I would go to these events, and I don't know if she saw me. I stayed kind of in the background in those days. But Stephanie is the Executive Director of New Beginnings of Central Florida. She also is one of the the South Lake High School all-sports booster and ex-officio team mom for the softball team. She told me earlier she got voluntold, but she has embraced the role. So you've been doing it 3 years now? So you're working on your third year?
Working on my third year.
one of the other cool things about Stephanie is the heart of service that she has. She also serves on multiple housing and homeless initiatives and committees whenever they come up. She also revealed to me that she is the chair of the Hurricane Survivors Task Force. Sorry about that. And, all of that says to me that Stephanie is actually a servant. But we brought her here to talk about New Beginnings. So tell me a little bit about how you got involved with New Beginnings. We all know Steve Smith started it, but you could talk about that. Tell me where you came along. I know you've been there from almost the start.
Yeah, I've been here. I started started interviewing in the fall of 16 and officially started as the interim executive director in January. I was actually the vice president. I don't even remember what my full title was, but I was hired with the intent to step into the executive director role later that year in 2017. I started my kind of career in nonprofit through volunteering. I served in the for-profit capacity for many years. I served as a mall assistant manager for 6 years, and I started doing some volunteer work with the Salvation Army. Served on one of their boards for a couple years, and that's kind of where I felt at home, at peace. When I moved into another role professionally, still did that volunteer role, and then stepped into a director of development position with them in Virginia. And that was when I got bit by that nonprofit bug. And I've never really turned back. I've worked in leadership positions for the March of Dimes, for the Heart Association. And then when I left the Heart Association in 16, or knew that I was going to be leaving, I decided I wanted to get back into social services. That's kind of where my heart is. I was raised with modest times, and I've seen women and families overcome some challenges that have been thrown at them, barriers that are put in front of them, and just know there's better opportunity for people. There's many individuals that are underserved in our population, and we're a land of opportunity in the U.S., right? So that shouldn't happen. Right. So that's where my heart kind of led. I came across New Beginnings, saw the opportunity for this position, and stepped into it, went through a 3-week interview process, and started in that role, and have been serving in that capacity.
So tell us a little bit about New Beginnings. Give us an idea of where it came from and what you do now.
Okay. Well, New Beginnings was founded by Steve Smith, Linda Smith, and some other business executives in the community. And it really just started by coming across a homeless man and realizing there was no services and assistance or resources in South Lake County, really in most of Lake County. So that they felt was a calling for them to start something. So New Beginnings was formed, and it was formed with the pretense that we need to find opportunities to help those that are in homelessness, that have come across hard times, unemployed, seek employment, find employment, and stabilize their housing and their situation. And that's pretty much the same today. We've evolved a lot in the last couple of years, really identifying what the need is and making sure we're a conduit to serve and fulfill that need. But we also believe we should not be all things to all people. So, our mission is to empower people to overcome the pain of poverty and the alienation of homelessness. So, and that mission rings pretty true with everything we do. If there is a scope of service that's needed outside of what we provide, then we connect with other resources in this community. There's a lot of great agencies in South Lake County and throughout Central Florida that we have a relationship with. That's where those community committees come into play, because if it's feeding, we're not a food pantry, so we partner with a food pantry. We have emergency food because no one should ever not have a meal, but we're not going to be that conduit of providing food on a regular basis. So we partner with somebody to do that. Housing is a shortage and housing is a need, and that's the constant thing you're going to hear a lot about. Affordable housing is very much in the limelight right now. So although we have some affordable housing opportunities and partnerships, there's always a need for more. We partner with another agency that also does affordable housing because we can't do it alone. Mm-hmm. So we still serve in a capacity to help someone navigate through the social services that are available for someone living in poverty, someone that has a desire to break that cycle of poverty and help prevent homelessness or help someone get out of homelessness. We do it through housing, so we have some housing options, we have life skills classes. We weigh very heavily on education and personal accountability. Our motto is, teach a man to fish, then he's going to feed himself for the rest of his life. But if you give it to him, that's only going to give him a food for a day.
You know, it's
not
one of
good.
the things I think that makes New Beginnings unique. So often people hear the buzzwords, nonprofit, empowerment, services.
Yeah.
You know, they tend to think handout,
Yeah.
continuation of the problem, just give them something. And one of the things that really attracted me to New Beginnings was a conversation with one of your staff members, Eric Segalini, and took me through the program. And your program is almost created or structured the way a drug program is, where they're not just helping someone get clean for a few minutes. You're doing some. Tell us a little bit about that. How do you find a guy and bring him to the place? Because you have several success stories, and hopefully we'll get one of them on to interview at some point.
I'd love to do that.
But I'd like to hear more about that. I think that people really need to hear that you're not just handing somebody, you know, what they need to overcome and continue the cycle.
Yeah,
So-
it is. It's actually a very important statement because too many people, when I say, they ask, well, what is New Beginnings? And I say, well, we're a homeless poverty prevention outreach ministry. It's two different looks.
Right,
I get
right.
the look like, oh, that's great. And then they move on, or they want to know more, right? They ask questions. And really it's about, we do not enable. It really comes down, the simplest way to explain it is personal accountability. Well, by definition, personal accountability is personal, right? I can't force personal accountability on you because it's personal to you. But I can teach it, I can coach, I can provide tools and resources. We're trying to really change the spectrum of how someone has thought, probably their entire life. Now, that could be a 23-year-old or that could be a 58-year-old. So it's going to be a little bit different of how it's received depending on that client that we're speaking with. But we help men, we help women, we help single families, single family homes, single moms with kids, single dads with kids, husband, wife with kids. That's really the most important thing. If somebody walks away from anything from this whole segment today, it's understanding that the face of homeless and the face of poverty is not someone standing under the bridge with a sign anymore. Your waitress today, wherever you go to dinner for lunch, go out for lunch or dinner, they may very well be living in poverty or homelessness. Homelessness. So think about that. Let that sink in a minute, because I don't think a lot of people realize how the face of poverty and homelessness really has changed. What we want to do is empower those individuals to know that there is a way out. There is a way to break that cycle, and we can provide resources to help make it happen.
So how do guys come to you, or ladies come to you, families? Do people reach out to you? Do you find them and say, hey, there's an option? Just give us a brief idea of the process to get them in and carry them through.
It's referrals in a lot of cases, and some do just call us directly because they have been referred by us in some capacity. A lot of churches, we work with and partner with a lot of churches in the community. We try to be that poverty prevention outreach or homeless outreach for churches. Most people that are living in extreme poverty or have found themselves where they're in a need of food or need of shelter, they're going to go to a local church. Churches are just known for providing that resource, right? But churches really aren't equipped for that. And churches aren't always equipped to identify, do they really need the help? Do they really want the help, or do they just want a place tonight?
And are they ready for a change?
Are they ready for a change? Because that's the difference of New Beginnings. So there is a process that they go through. If somebody calls or they're referred to us, then we do a couple intake screenings. We have someone that does an initial intake screening over the phone. If they identify as a qualified candidate for any of our possible programs, then they get another follow-up call. That's a little more personal, goes into a little more detail, really trying to understand, are they ready for change? Not to, undermine the situation they're in and that they don't need help. Because if they need help, we're going to refer them to other sources if they do not seem to be a candidate to come into our program, because what makes them a candidate is their willingness to be in this program. It's a working program. It's not just a place to stay or just a place to stay for low cost, because there is two spectrums to our program. If someone is homeless and unemployed, then it's a 16-week, very rigorous program. They're going to class during the day and they're working in the afternoon. And there's even activities at night, a lot of which are around addiction and recovery. A large percentage of the population we're seeing are coming out of addiction of some sort. Addiction wears many hats, so it's not just substance abuse. There's gambling, there's sex, there's a lot of things that people can be addicted to, and that could have derailed their life and now has become a barrier to them succeeding.
So you get somebody in, you go through the screenings, you bring them into, you have a men's program and a women's program, so thankfully you can serve both sectors.
Yeah.
They come through the 16-week program. I'm sure there's some accountability. You probably lose a percentage during the program, so everybody doesn't graduate. But somebody gets through and they graduate. What do you do with them then?
Well, the graduation process means that they completed the classes, they secured employment, and they maintained employment for at least 30 days. So all along the way, the case manager has been working with them on their housing plan and trying to prepare them for permanent housing. So once they secure that job, that gets ramped up. So then they go back to, okay, what waiting list are they on? Where are they at on those waiting lists? It's really at that point preparing their budgets. Are they prepared to live independently? We talk about it a lot leading up to that point, but it's very different to take a class when you don't have a job, or you have a job and you're making minimum wage and you realistically still just do not believe I can't do this. So
which was the place I was trying to get to, is that you don't just dump them back onto the street. You know, part of the problem we see with a lot of drug programs is there's no plan for what we call aftercare. Yeah. They just, your 30 days is up. Yeah. Go be on your own.
And that's actually what we called it for a little while, is aftercare.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time. I really appreciate you coming out. I want to say thank you to Stephanie. Stephanie, this is Cameron. Please tell people where they can get involved, how they can help, if they know somebody who needs help. Where they refer. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the easiest way is to go to our website. That's where you're going to get the most information, mbcfl.org. And we really need help through, obviously, donations and support. Monthly donors really help sustain our mission and help us provide the housing and assistance and programs and services. And we also need volunteers. Your time is precious, so that's a really great way to give. We have thrift stores that are always in need of volunteers to help maintain those stores, to maintain the income. Many, many ways to get involved through events and activities as well. So just go to our website, and that's the best line of opportunity.
Thank you, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. Once again, thank you for being on the show. I know you guys love her as much as I do. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to remind you, like, love, and share. Help spread the word. You cannot share us enough. If you know anybody that should be a guest on the show, please, Stephanie, you too, let me know, onejoeknows@gmail.com. You can reach out to me by phone or text at 352-360-8387. Like, love, share. My mind just went blank. Imagine that on a live show. If you know anybody that would like to advertise or help sponsor the show, please let me know. Same contact information, onejoeknows@gmail.com. In conclusion, I'd like to remind you, there is greatness inside you. Dare to show that greatness today. And I love you. See you tomorrow. My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake.